Hey folks, so today I wanted to go over a little bit more about Scratchboard, and there were a couple videos that I posted for you to watch. The first one specifically about scratching techniques, and the second one was a sped up version of a person who was creating a tabby cat and using color. And I wasn't going to make an extra video, and then I decided that I was, because I think that it's important for you to see this process of how I would instruct it in the classroom. Also, if you are in my class and you need a refresher, it's kind of a good idea. So this one right here was one that was done a few years ago by a student that I had, and this is on a full sheet of paper, so 8.5 by 11. And they did a large version of a hawk's head. And what they've done really well here is scratching to create that texture of the feather, pulling out bright whites to indicate the eye, but still leaving some darks, because if you're looking at a close-up, certainly you would see those kinds of things. And also indicating a little bit of the nostril within the beak and defining that beak. An even stronger example is this one that was done by a student also a few years ago. Very challenging piece. How do you draw something that has quite a few clear sections and gradients? And what this student did extremely well was using hatching and cross-hatching to determine some of those areas. Now, when it comes to the actual scratching off of the black surface, the pressure you put on it makes a big difference. So more pressure will pull out larger white areas. Less pressure gives you more delicate lines. And how close those lines are together indicates whether the lighting is lighter or darker. So in this specific piece, the student really pulled out some bright whites, kept in some deeper shadows, and how they were put together helps to create these crystallized forms. Okay, so I have one more example I can show you that was done by a student. This one I had printed out, and there's a lot going on in this particular picture. This one is more abstract. Now, for this project, you are able to create the subject of your choice. And I always say keep it school appropriate, but you get to choose that instead of me giving you a topic. Now, for some students, this is really hard. For other students, they love it. So for this particular student, she knew she wanted to do something in creating a face of a young woman. She really liked doing faces, and she created this beautiful koi fish. So we've almost got like a land and sea kind of coming together with overlapping. And she's done a nice job trying to integrate that using different kinds of line weights. Thinking about how hard do I press down on the surface, and how much do I take out as well. Okay, so here's some things that can help you with this process. Now, if you're in class or working remotely, you would have received a piece of scrap. So this is just a small one that I've kind of started, and we've got a couple different tools to use. One that is more pointed and one that is more rounded, depending on what kinds of lines you're making would determine what kinds of tools you want to use, and practice really helps with that. So this was my quick little drawing that I put together, and there is a way you can transfer this onto your scratch board. Now, this is a piece of what we call graphite paper. So the graphite is spread on the side, and what you could do is you could take your drawing, put this underneath, and then press down on all of your lines to get that imprint to come up on the scratch board. Or you could take the picture that you've drawn and really go over it in pencil and then do the exact same thing. This just comes pre-graphited, I guess, if you could say that's a word. So I went ahead and I did that. And in this right here, it's really kind of hard to see, but I think you can see some of the lines of the tree as I go around. Now, Scratchboard, all it really is a piece of paper with a very fine layer of clay on it, and then a scratchable black material on top. And I think this is an old piece of some silver, which is why you're seeing a little bit of a reflection going on here. So in my picture, I have this moon, and I know light is going to be coming from that moon. So what I've started to do with my hills is I've started to pull out what I feel is going to be a pretty strong reflective line coming up and around, and also the same over here as well. I think I've got a little snag there. So then I started to use some lines. Let me just turn this over here. Going in one direction, so some hatching lines to show how that light is then moving over the hill itself. And if I wanted to get a little bit lighter, I could go in the other direction and pull out some lights as well. So if I wanted to start my tree, because I haven't actually started that, I know that this side of the tree is going to be brighter than this side. So because of that, I'd probably start pulling out some lines that are a little bit heavier on this side. So I'd want to change, nope, I think I like the other tool better. So I want to change how much I pull down and how wide I make that line. Now the underside might be a little bit darker, but I'd want to play around to create a sense of where that light is pulling and pushing onto. So right now, ooh, that's very bright. I'm just looking at the camera. So you can see some of my lines here, and right here I went a little bit lighter and then I went heavier and darker because I know this is where the light is going to be hitting my tree. So the thing with scratch art is you have to think in reverse. Up until this point, we have been putting the dark areas on paper. Now we're doing the reverse. We're pulling up all the lights. So you want to figure out what is going to be the lightest part of your picture and make sure that that's the part that has the most area scratched off of. Then everything else is going to be a variant of that. Okay? So take it slow. You don't need to rush, but I just wanted to go over a little of that with you. And if you decide you need a little bit more practice, go back to that first video I shared with you, and it goes over different ways to create hatching, cross-hatching, even stippling, and also like scumbling as well, pulling up some of that black surface. And if you have any questions, just let me know.